Hello and welcome to Pacific Echo. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the channel. If you have been with us in the beginning, thank you for being part of the journey. Alright, so this video will show you the relationship between fraction, decimal, and percentage. Okay, before we move into understanding the relationship between fraction, decimal, and percentage, let us first of all look at the simple explanation of what a fraction, decimal, and percentage are. Okay, so let's start with fraction first of all. So a fraction is a number that represents a part of a whole. A fraction is a way to show a part of a whole. Right, so let's say we have a fraction a over b, and a fraction also has two parts. We have the top part, which is the numerator, and the bottom part is the denominator. So let's go. The bottom part, the first part here, or the top part, is the numerator, and the bottom part is the denominator. So always remember, a fraction has two parts. The top part is the numerator and the bottom part is the denominator. So let's look at an example of a fraction. A very simple example of a fraction. We have example 1 over 2 is a very simple example of a fraction, and we have 2 over 3, 4 over 5. So this is a very simple example of a fraction. Right, so let's look at a pictorial example of a fraction. So let's look at the real life example of what a fraction is. So let's say you were given a pizza to share the pizza among 4 members, 4 people, and you were given this part of the pizza to eat, and that means you eat one pieces out of the 4 different parts. So this is a simple example of what a fraction is. Okay, so now I think we are done with the fraction. Now let's move on to decimal. Okay, so next thing we are looking at decimal. Okay, so a decimal is another way of writing fraction using a decimal point. Okay, so a decimal is another way of writing fraction using a decimal point. So here is is a decimal point. Decimal point. Okay. Now, a decimal is another way of writing numbers, especially when dealing with parts of a whole using a decimal point. A decimal also shows values less than 1 or more than 1 using place value. Okay, so let's look at few examples of decimal. Okay, so here we have 1/10 is equals to 0.1, and another example here, 1/2 is equals to 0.5. So this is a very simple example of what a decimal is, or decimal numbers. Okay, now a decimal, always remember, decimal represent tens, thousands, and hundreds, etc. Okay, now let's look at a few other examples of decimal. Okay, we have fraction here. Decimal. Alright, so 1/5 as a fraction, and in decimal we have 0.2, and 3/5 is 0.6, and 25/100 is 0.25. So this is a simple example of a decimal. So you can see here we have 0.2, 0.6, and 0.25. So this is a very simple example of decimal. Alright, so always remember, a decimal is another way of writing numbers, especially when dealing with parts of a whole using a decimal point. And a decimal shows values less than 1 or more than 1 using place value. Alright, so now let's move on to decimal. We're done with decimal. Let's move on to percentage. Okay, let's move on to percentage. A percentage means out of 100, and a percentage is a way of expressing a number as fraction of 100, and it literally means per 100, or percent. Means per this one of per 100. Okay, it tells how many parts out of 100 or 100 something represents. So here we have 50%, it means 50 out of 100. Okay, so let's look at some example of percentage. So here we have example of percentage. So if we have 20%, it means 20 over 100, and 20 over 100, or we can say 0 0.2. Okay, let's look at another example. If we have 30%, it means 30 over 100, and it also means 0.3. All right, so there's a simple example and simple explanation of a percentage. Okay, so now I hope you understand what a fraction is, what a decimal is, and what percentage is. So now let's move on to understanding the relationship between fraction, percentage, and decimal. Okay, so first of all, again, to understand the relationship between fraction, decimal, and percentage, there are three different ways of writing the same numerical value. You can think of them as different languages of describing a part of a whole. So it basically means it's a different language for describing a part of a whole. Okay, so always remember, when dealing with fraction, or fraction represent a division of two numbers. Division of two numbers, yeah, we have 1 over 2, and a decimal represents the same value based on power of 10, and percentage means represent that value scale to a total of 100. Example, here we have 50, which also means 50%. It also means 50 over 100. Alright, so okay, so to understand the relationship between percentage, between fraction, percentage, and decimal, you have to move between them, or to move between them, fraction, to move between them, or to convert from fraction to a decimal, and from a decimal to a percentage, you just need to follow simple steps, or the steps which we are going to go through together. There are simple steps that you need to follow when converting from fraction to decimal and from decimal to percentage. Okay, so first of all, let's look at converting from fraction, let's look at converting from fraction to decimal. Let's look at converting. First of all, let's look at converting from or conversion from fraction to decimal. Okay, now for you to convert from a fraction to a decimal, you will have to divide the numerator by the denominator. So to convert fraction to decimal, you will have to divide the numerator by the denominator, which is equals to a decimal. Okay, so this is a very simple rule that you can apply to convert a fraction to a decimal. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. If we have 1 over 4 as our fraction, here we know that 1 is our denominator our numerator, and 4 is our denominator. So the rule says you divide the numerator by the denominator. So 1 divided by 4 is equals to 0.25. There we go. So we already convert this fraction to percentage. Okay, so let's look at another example. If we have 3 over 5 as our fraction, then the rule says you divide the numerator by the denominator. So 3 divided by 5, which is equal to 0.6. Simple as that. Okay, so now let's look at another example here. Let's say we have 7 over 8. 7 over 8 is our fraction, and again the rule says we have to divide the numerator by the denominator. So 7 divide by 8, which is equals to 0.875. All right, there we go. So this very simple example of how you can convert a fraction into a decimal. Okay, so we are done with it. Now let's move on to the next, which is converting decimal to percentage. All right. Now, to convert a decimal to a percentage, you have to understand there are simple rules, very simple rule that you have to follow, which is decimal multiply with 100 is equal to a percentage. There we go. So this is a very simple rule you can use to convert a decimal into a percentage. So let's look at a few examples here. Let's say we have 0.45 as our decimal. We are going to convert this decimal into a percentage. So first thing you want to do is you multiply the decimal with 100 as the rule says. So 0.45 multiply with 100 is equal to 45%. There we go. So this is our first example. Now let's move on to another example. Let's say we have 0.05 and we are going to convert that decimal into percentage, and again we are going to multiply this decimal 0.05 multiply with multiply by 100 multiply by 100. We are going to get 5%. Simple as that. Okay, let's look at the final example. We have let's say 1.5 as our decimal. So again the rule says we are going to multiply the decimal with 100 to get the percentage. So 1.5 this 5 is not really clear. Okay, so 1.5 multiply with 100. So 1.5 multiply with 100 is equals to 150%. There we go. Simple as that. And finally, let's look at how we can change a percentage back to fraction again. So to convert percentage back to a fraction, again, very simple rule you have to apply, which is very simple formula here. So when converting percentage to fraction, you divide the percentage value over 100. You divide the percentage value by 100 and simplify it. Okay, so let's say we write the formula first. Formula we have the percentage value over 100, and don't forget to simplify. There we go. So to convert fraction, to convert percentage to fraction, you are going to use this very simple rule to convert a percentage into a fraction. And always remember, don't you forget to simplify. Okay, so let's look at the 3 example here. So let's say we have 40%. We have 40. Let's say we have 40%. Now we are going to change this percentage to. We are going to convert 40% to a fraction. So 40% is equals to 40 over 100. That's the percentage value, and this is 100. That's the percentage value, that's 100. So now we are going to simplify. When we simplify, we are going to get 4 over 10, and then we are going to further simplify it, and then we'll end up getting 2 over 5. Okay, you might be wondering how we are simplifying this. You have to use the greatest common factor to simplify. Don't you forget to use the greatest common factor or the highest common factor when you are simplifying. Alright, so for this case here, we have 40 over 100. The highest common factor that you can use to simplify is 20. So you can use 20. 40 divided by 20 will give you 2, and then 100 divided by 20 will give you 5. So 20 for this case is our highest common factor. Okay, so let's move to, let's do another example here. Now let's say we have 75%. Now 75%, you read 75 over 100, and then we are going to simplify that. So the highest common factor, or the greatest common factor, we can use to simplify this fraction into its simplest form. The highest common factor, or the greatest common factor, is 25. So we divide it 25, and here we divided 100 by 25. So by using 25 as our greatest common factor for both the numerator and the denominator, we will end up getting 3/4. Simple as that. Okay, so let's look at our final example here. Now let's say we look at another fraction, 12 over 100. Oh, my apology. Say we have 12%. 12%. You write 12 over 100. Now we are going to further simplify it. So again, you look at the highest common factor, or the greatest common factor that we can use to simplify. The greatest common factor for 12 and 100 is 4. So we use 4 and 4 for here. For okay, go. We are going to end up getting 3/25. There we go, and that's our simplest form. Okay, and there we go. This is how you can convert decimal, fraction to decimal, and decimal to fraction. And these are the relationship between fraction, percentage, and decimal, or fraction, decimal, and percentage, and then back to fraction again. Alright, thank you very much, and if you find this video interesting, please don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe for more video. I'll catch you in our next video.